Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Georgie. And as mentioned, good morning, everybody. We are really honored that we just managed to be host of this kind of event, especially in the Euroguidance network. Because in the previous period, we just put a lot of effort to be this network as much visible. And also, I want to mention that in the previous period, we just hired Euroguidance ambassadors just to promote this program a little bit. So I can say that maybe not short perspective, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I think that this network started to show some visibility, especially in our country, because we don't have a lot of programs, especially on the European level, that brings these topics in the society. And I can say also that this webinar somehow maybe is the beginning for the next year, especially for European Year of Skills probably. So I think that the next year will be somehow much more connected with this Euroguidance Center, because I think that these centers in the future need to be more in the society, more present for probably for everybody. That I think from universities to NGO to schools, somehow everybody needs to think about this kind of guidance center for their staff, for their students, and so on. So also this inclusion factor that you bring to this webinar is also, I can say, much more helpful for the people, because right now we have one TC activity, mobility for inclusion for TC mobility, that we are hosting right now in Skopje. So I can say that we are doing a lot of efforts, a lot of events, just to promote these programs, and also to promote maybe the most important priority of the European Commission, is inclusion. So thank you everybody for being here on this webinar. And I just want to say hello to everybody. I'm honored to be a guest with Georgie and Bella. So I think that in the future we'll have more cooperation between us. Thank you once again. And in these Erasmus days, I will hope that we'll make a lot of events together. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Marco. So for those who joined later, I would like to say that Euroguidance North Macedonia organizes its first webinar. And we didn't choose the 13th of October as a date just because we wanted to, but because it's also Erasmus Days. And our priority and the European Commission priority is the topic of inclusion. So that's why our topic will be about career guidance and counseling for people with disabilities. We had lots of help, and thank you for the effort from the other centers, Euroguidance from Turkey, Austria, and Hungary, that will also give some presentation. We also have Simona Joveska from the municipality of Bitola. She has some very good practices to share. Actually, their home municipality was kind of adapted for people with disabilities and employees there. And of course, we have our new ambassadors, Euroguidance ambassadors, that are, it's their third month and they're pretty good at their job. They have lots of experience. So we'll learn from them also. For the beginning, I would like to invite them, Goci and Isabella, to present, to share their good practices. So, Isabella.
Thank you, Georgie. I don't know if you can hear me okay? Okay, so I'm really glad to be starting with as the first speaker on this very important topic of education and career counseling, because we all know that both work together to make a perfect match in order to support children in choosing their careers and becoming adults that are proud of their professional experience and the way that they do their work. So I will first say a few words about myself because I think it's crucial to understand why experienced professionals need to take part in the career guidance counseling profession. So I am studying to become an early childhood educator, and I've been working as a career counselor for the past 2 years. And the thing that I noticed is that early childhood is exactly the period where we need to start teaching children about careers. So I'll mention a few words about the law for education in our country. So inclusion my main topic, conclusion as a main topic in career guidance counseling is a main topic in our educational law. So people with disabilities are included in regular education in order to promote understanding of differences and camaraderie in learning. So for that reason,
I think that Isabella has some technical problems. Do not forget to ask questions in the comments so the speakers will answer them. Okay, Gotze, you can continue if you want, so Isabella can join later.
Okay, thank you, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate Erasmus Days and thanks to the speakers who accepted the invitation to be part of this webinar. Also, thanks to all these who joined to follow this webinar by electronic way. Today, when we celebrate the days of the Erasmus program, we decided to discuss and exchange experience and opinions about the career development of people with disabilities. Or through this webinar, we will update the topic of the career development of the person with disabilities. Why it is necessary to pay attention of this category of people who are our friends, our relatives, or our associates. According to the World Health Organization World Bank Disability Report, more than 1 billion people live with some type of disability, or about 15% of the world population. It's a significant number. That's why they cannot be excluded in policy making and law making. However, mainly due to the lack of understanding, the needs of people with disability are somewhere among the lower priority of the authorities. Therefore, in order to obtain a complete picture of this situation, the needs and limitations of business, central and local authorities, Organization of People of Macedonia, according for everyone, including and the people with disabilities. According to the law of the higher education, Article 27, paragraph 4 says, students at all levels of the higher education and are from the category of people with disabilities are entitled to special benefits determined by the statute of the university. In this context, a regulation by the government of the Republic of Macedonia published in the official newspaper in relation to the rights of persons with disabilities that they can be exempted from participating in study can also be taken into account. On University St. Clement Ohridski Bitola, in system studying AFI students with disability. University St. Clement Ohridski Bitola makes effort to provide appropriate conditions for students with disability in order to facilitate their access to the university. As good practice at UCLO, will present our next speaker, Ms. Simona Joveska, who will share to us her experience as student in the first and second cycle of study at UCLO, as well as the experience from her working engagement in the municipality of Bitola. Positive practice in Macedonia, we can mention the platform Best Online Assistant, which is an innovative and unique platform for education, training and career development and employment of people with disabilities. On other side, the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy has the central authority for creating policy and their implementation in the field of the employment of people with disabilities, including competencies for labor relations, social affairs. In this analysis are considered the following competencies: labor, employment and unemployment of people with disabilities, equal opportunities, pension and disability insurance, protection of workers, social policy, salary and standard of living, and last, most important, general protection of persons with disabilities. To support the implementation of the quota system and to set an example of such practice, the government started implementing the measure to employ 300 persons with disabilities in the public administration. This measure covered all persons with disabilities, regardless of the type of disability. And the goal was to provide employment for 116 persons with disability who have basic education and low qualification, 100 persons with secondary education, and 40 persons with completed higher education. This initiative provides a strong motivation for providing visibility and raising awareness of the human rights of people with disabilities in employment. But the analysis which the public attorney did show that 70 people are still not actively employed, which means involving a large number of users at the same time can lead to negative consequences. At the same time, the lack of absorption capacity among the institution wishing to employ people with disabilities is intensified, and all that may have a negative effect on the implementation of this policy. As regards improving inclusiveness in higher education, there are three groups of measures: providing physical accessibility of the building of higher education institutions, improving the physical accessibility of student dormitories. Example, by the year 2020, 15% of dormitories were improved to conditions they offer to all students and within the framework of that accessibility. The establishment of the distance learning system will be done through the formation of a special working group which should pay attention to providing an accessible textbook and other necessary materials for students with disabilities and relevant access to technology. And three, measures to ensure inclusiveness of informal education and adult education system are presented, such as, for example, adoption of part of informal training programs for persons with disability according to adopted programs. And as a conclusion, dispute the efforts that is being made to improve the conditions for students, persons with disability, there is still space for future action. What I have noticed in the need, equipment should be provided for following lessons with the Braille alphabet intended for the visually impaired, etc. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Goce. Before Simona joins with the presentation, I would like to ask Isabella to continue her speech because her internet went pretty bad. So Isabella, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Georgi. So once again, I stopped at inclusion. So the educational law for early childhood education supports inclusion and empowering children with disabilities. So this is done by this special program for early childhood learning and development, which is performed by the Bureau for the Development of Education. So educators, early childhood educators, are motivated to include all children in the educational process. So how this is important for children with disabilities? In order to be included, children with disabilities have special assistants who are given to them by law, which help them throughout their educational process. So how do these special assistants help these children? They work in order to adapt the program by evaluating the difficulties that the children face and tailoring the program according to their needs. So let's say a children has some problems with maintaining focus. So the program is adapted to go at a slower pace in order for the child to be able to learn. How this can be connected to guidance counseling and career counseling. The goal in this early childhood development period is to motivate the exploration process and exploring about different careers. So from an early age, children can start learning about different careers and how this can be done in the early childhood setting. Maybe you've heard about the popular events in American classrooms called show and tell, when parents come to school and talk about their professions. So this can be done in an interactive way with children from an early age in order to teach about the different professions. So when it comes to children with disabilities, this can be done by empowering them to think about what they can do, but not what they can't do, and stimulating them to strengthen their strengths and work on their challenges in order to be part of a specific profession. So if we start to motivate these children to explore and become interested in a lot of professions, as they grow up, they will learn how to modify the profession in order to suit their needs and for them to be able to do a specific profession. So when it comes to elementary school, we can dive further into the exploration process by maybe doing a SWOT analysis with children that are a bit older. So they can learn more about themselves, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, what are their strengths, what are probably maybe some aspects of their work, of their daily functioning that they need to work on in order to improve them, and how they can all together work in order to become better people and support each other through this process. I think that the role of the teaching assistants is crucial in this process, because they are the ones to make these specific programs tailored to the children with disabilities and help them to thrive and perform the best that they can. I believe that the mutual cooperation between the institutions, the teaching assistants, the early childhood educators is one of the most important parts in the well-functioning of these children as they grow up and move along through the educational process. And if they want to continue with the educational process, continue with the educational process. But if they want to start working, the government and all of these institutions need to be the bridge in order to help children with disabilities thrive. So thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. So I don't know, my question is, what about our country? How is the connection between all the institutions regarding people with disabilities and their career counseling? Because you're into career counseling more than we are. So I have a question. What do you think? What, as a country, we should be doing in the future?
At this moment, career counseling isn't an official profession in our country. So psychologists and educators are trained and do career counseling on top of their main profession, let's say as an early childhood educator or a psychologist. So I think that giving the job the importance that it needs and making it an official profession is the first step towards helping not only children with disabilities, but all children and people to thrive in their career field. I think that we have a problem with this is the law, but it's not practiced in all municipalities. So maybe a child that is from Skopje doesn't have the same opportunities that a child, let's say, from Vinica has, because they don't have enough of a support from the community. So I believe that having these teaching assistants next to each child with disability can be a crucial step in order to improve this process. And we don't have enough of them. And even in the systems that these people are employed by the school, it's often, let's say, only one assistant for a whole school or for a whole kindergarten. And there are a lot of disabilities. For example, there are people with children with mental disabilities, children with physical disabilities. So one teaching assistant needs to be assigned to only one child and not the whole school in order for this system to be successful, in my opinion.
Thank you, Isabella. So as a country, we have lots of work to do right now. That's why I noticed that almost 50-60% from the participants are from North Macedonia, because definitely they want to hear some good practices from the other countries. So next for a presentation will be Ms. Simona Joveska. She has some really good practice, and I'm really proud that we have her here on this webinar. So Simona, feel free.
Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for the kind words, and to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this event. It is a pleasure, and even more that it is an event of this topic that needs to be discussed even more, especially in our country. As I said once before, I'm not an expert, but I have pretty much big experience about being disabled on the employment market. So hopefully I would bring something positive to this event. I have some short PowerPoint presentation, if it's possible to share. No, I can't.
I think that you can just let me give you some permissions.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. It's a short one. Okay. The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. This is a powerful saying which somehow over the years has probably become the leading thought in my municipality, in my city, that is the city of Bitola. And for those presented here that still haven't had the opportunity to visit Bitola and to see its beauties, I would like to start with some words about Bitola, which is located in the southwestern part of the Republic of North Macedonia. It's a grand old town that still bears the marks of its turn of the century importance as a center for diplomacy. And also, we are the largest city in the Valley of Pelagonia, and the main regional center for this region. Bitola is named City of Consuls, and the territory of Bitola covers the city itself and 65 villages around, with a total population of 64 citizens, of which 5,141 are persons with disabilities, according to the last census, which produces somewhere about 6% of the population. But in the reality, we have a lot of more people with disabilities, because we are facing the situation where a lot of people with disabilities are not stating themselves, are not characterizing themselves as people with disabilities, but yet their working abilities are somehow restricted by the condition they are facing. The institutional setup for the social protection in the municipality is as it follows on this picture. We have a sector for economic development, public affairs, and information technology, where there is a public affairs department, where I, as a social service advisor for vulnerable groups, work. Besides this, we have a Council for Social Protection and a Committee for Public Affairs of the Council of the Municipality of Bitola. And something about the infrastructure for people with disabilities. We all know that people with disabilities face different barriers every day when they are performing their daily activities. entry and use of public facilities, public transport, use of services. But fortunately for me, maybe it was just a coincidence that my path always has crossed with such people that that are seeing the disabilities as a social model, not as a medical model. At least most of the time, I was faced with people who believe in this social model of disability. Namely, it may not be possible. I'm going to stop sharing. Stop sharing now. I would like to see you. Namely, maybe it's not possible to say this on the Zoom video, but if this event would be organized with physical presence, it would be more than obvious that I am a person with disability. I use a wheelchair, and always in my life, since I started school, I was facing people that are conscious about the social model of disabilities. In high school, an accessible ramp was made, while a particularly positive experience was my studies, where I was the first student with a wheelchair at the Faculty of Biotechnical Sciences at the University St. Clement Ohridsky. And I regularly attended classes at both undergraduate and master's level, which was possible because the faculty was in a building with a fully accessible floor, with lecture halls, library, professors' offices, and a laboratory. At the time when I enrolled in the faculty, it was not like that. So the faculty was still in the old facilities where I do not have access. But the management of the faculty, when I enrolled, came out with such an understanding that even though there was a plan to move the faculty, they moved the faculty in record time. So I believe that construction works on the new building lasted for the first few months after the school year started, but they still came to meet me and my needs and enabled me to not to miss any day of teaching, to be the school year to completely start in the new building. After my studies, I started working as a lecturer in a private education center, which was mine, and I was the manager, so that I had no physical barriers because the space there depended on me. But because that center was a social enterprise that provides free training for people from vulnerable groups, somehow the work as a counselor advisor for social services for vulnerable groups found me. And I started to work at the municipality. According to the law of local self-government in Republic of North Macedonia, each municipality is obligated to provide citizens with access to basic information about the services it provides. All with the aim of easier access for citizens with disabilities to information and services provided by the municipalities. But the issue of disabilities has always been a challenge, and it still is a challenge. And often with rare exceptions, people with disabilities in the Republic of North Macedonia face problems in everyday life. That is depending on the individual material possibilities of the parents and the parents' awareness that diversity should not be an obstacle. People with disabilities often remain unrealized and unrecognized as active actors in the advancement of the human, social, and economic development of society. This is what the municipality of Bitola is trying to help, that is to find a way to facilitate the everyday life of people with disabilities and to create opportunities to develop a society where everyone is accepted and respected and has the opportunity to work, to contribute, and to be the best version of themselves. When I started to work in the municipality, because it is an old building that is protected as a cultural heritage and cannot be reconstructed. There was no access for me at all. For the first month, I worked in an office next to the main building, where it was possible to make an access pad until the necessary permits were obtained to make a stair platform in the main building. One of the goals of this local self-government is the overall improvement of the condition for all citizens. And with this adaptation of the municipal building, a better mobility is enabled for all people with mobility difficulties, with the installation of access pad, a special lift platform for wheelchairs, and a toilet adapted for people with physical disabilities. According to the latest world standards, the municipality of Bitola has fully provided access to services for people of this category, as well as the opportunity to work in the institution. The municipality of Bitola is, by improving the accessibility of the municipal building, showed that the specific needs of people with disabilities are taken into account in the local planning and budgeting. This platform and the adaptation of the municipal building are of great benefit, not only to me, but also to all the people with disabilities with mobility difficulties that will use them in the future. And now when we have this access to the municipal building, this is a moment when we can see the product of the continuous efforts of the municipality to break down barriers and to create a society equal for all. In addition to the adaptation of the municipal building, an accessible pad was made in the council hall in the municipality of Bitola, which made it possible for the first time for people using a wheelchair to enter the city hall and to take part of the decision-making process. I'm going to share these slides with you. This is just 4 pictures. So this is me using the stair platform and the accessible toilet and the access pad to the city hall. This looks so simple. These are such a small steps that are taken, but this means more than any words can say. This means more than words can say in a person with a disability to be for the first time accepted in the main institution of the municipality. Besides perhaps I could mention that beside this access and physical adaptation of the municipality, we are working on different positive practices about enrolling the people with disabilities in the social life, the work life. We have a number of activities, which I'm showing some pictures here. Thank you all. Hopefully you enjoyed my presentation, and hopefully that you'll take some positive examples about the treatment at the people with disabilities, because every one of us has something that can contribute to the creation of a better tomorrow, as I would like to say.
Thank you, Simona, for the beautiful presentation. I just want to mention once more that you are free to ask questions in the comments so the speakers can reply to them. Next for speaking is Mr. Mustafa. He comes from Turkey. He also has some presentation. So, Mr. Mustafa, feel free to join.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for this organizing and to take this opportunity for me. And I'm Mustafa Tiryaki from Turkish Employment Organization İşkur, and also I am part of the Euroguidance Turkey team. Let me share my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. I'm talking about job and vocational counseling service in Turkey and also job coaching service in Turkey in the same time. In the presentation plan, I'm talking about job and vocational counseling service, first of all, and then counseling for job seekers, job clubs, and job coaching for the disabled. The job and vocational counseling service in Turkey main target groups is job seekers, employers, and students. It's very universal for everyone, I think, the whole world. The vocational and the counselors support the job seekers find a job, solve their vocational adjustments problems, and improve their professional skills. In Turkey, İşkur also has some vocational training program in their inside, and we are direct the people to this kind of course. In addition, there job seekers need sometimes changing their occupation, so we try to help them to give an course, give an information, and a lot of things. Additionally, we give the employers to be informed with the framework of the legislation and meeting their demands for the labor force. And also we give the students choosing a profession, occupation, and the career pathway education. Our career counseling service are carried out on the basis of two main areas. One of them is individual interviews, and other is group interviews. And also workplace visit and the educational institution visit is also, we can do it. For job seekers, we are going to actually give the individual counseling service to help people know themselves, obtain information about training place, vocations, a lot of things, and also to give them the proper jobs vocations, the proper jobs and vocational course and programs, try to give. And also we give the group interviews and job seeking skills seminars, in which following the explained in below. Process of improving job seeking skills and description of skills, expectation of employers, methods of preparing CV, interview techniques, etc. I didn't see you.
Excuse me, Mustafa, we have some comment that we can only see the first slide of the presentation.
Okay. What should we do?
I don't know about changing the slides. Maybe you have some options in the screen sharing that you pressed. Okay, now it's okay. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. I didn't see anyone, so I don't know what's happening in there. Do you see me?
Yes, everything is fine now. Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, I'm talking about the job clubs. I think this one is very important for our organization, because the job clubs give the job seekers methodical and motivation support. It's include disabled people also. A lot of groups has covered. In a job club, studies 2 or 5 days lasting, and maximum 15 people can join this kind of program. It's a theoretical and practical information are provided. The participants get to know about their skills, acquire information on labor market, prepare effective CV, and learn what they should do in the job interviews. It's very interesting point, I think. This kind of. In Turkey, we have 95 job clubs all over the country. And then here is some pictures from our job clubs. The job clubs group should be a homogeneous group. So we try to modules and number is fixed for the group's needs, and we can determine the groups with the education level. It's very usual for our country. The disabled groups has more conversation and interview simulations in their studies. In these studies, give the disabled people to self-confidence and eliminate the problem of the self-expression. It's very important things in Turkey, I think, because the disabled people has some communication problems. So we overage. We try to overage with this kind of studies. Also, important thing is the working culture and employer expectation for the workplace is very important, and we give some information about this club to the disabled people. Jobs clubs working, we have 4 days in here, and we can choose the day 1 or 2. We can add or change it. First day is introduction parts, individual meeting, character test, hobbies, and employability skills we can implement to homogenize all the groups. Second day is my work and me working is implementing, and also job search network. I think very important things for also. And also job search channels we can give to disabled people. And also third day, CV types and implementation about the CV types, body language and communication tactics and implementation also this system. And fourth day, interview types and implementation of this phone call. How can we phone call? How can we talk with the employer or another organization for the job we can try to give to the disabled people with the job clubs. And the other point for our organization, we have a job coaching system for the disabled people. It's a project, and project aim is to ensure the disabled people employment of disabled people is sustainable. It's very important because in Turkey it's very too much get over problem, and convincing employers to employ disabled people, to direct disabled people to jobs that appropriate their skills and qualification, to make the institutional service offered to the disabled more qualified is the aim of the project. What we have do to improve the standards of capacity of service agency, we give the training for our job coaching, and we initiate to supported employment model, which is applied many development countries in the world, and to bring the disabled individuals to employment. Studies which were started for infrastructures of the model in 8 pilot provinces in all over the Turkey. Now 111 units in all over the country we have. In the scope of the training method and application studies of expansion to all over the country, our aim. The job coaching system is supports every step of the way. It depends on the every steps of the way. and give the living independently to the disabled people. I think it's very important part of the goal. And to reduce reliable, qualified workforce for employee from disabled people. This is very important also for the employability. To reduce the employability is very important. The job coaching system in İşkur has aimed to be assisted with obtaining and maintaining employment. The last training to the job coaching is sign language training we gave. And also our province directory has some online activities with job and disabled people, family, employer, and other people. They are trying to give the more accessible situation for the disabled people. I think it's finished my presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. I really like the concept of the job clubs because it combines inclusion and digitalization, because I noticed that you also have online meetings and online events. So I think it's a very good progress regarding.
Yes, very good. It depends on the peer learning and the role model. It's a very effective for the education. I mean, the disabled people can play the role in the employer or employee or unemployment people so it's very effective, the role model and the peer learning system.
Yes, thank you, Mustafa. So when we're at digitalization, I would like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Joanna, that has that they have created a good program, Accessible Work for All.
So, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we see it.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to present our project. My name is Joanna and I am representing Equalizent, which is an organization from Austria. The Accessible Work for All project is about creating information in an accessible format on working rights and labor law. As you can see from the first slide, we worked with partners in Germany, in Italy and in Poland. Can you see the second slide before I go on? Is that okay?
Yes, okay, we see it.
Perfect. Just briefly about Equalizent. Equalizent is an organization working with deaf and hard of hearing people. A third of our employees are deaf. Everybody is bilingual, and by bilingual I mean in Austrian Sign Language and in German written language. It's an important principle of our work, and this principle goes through into the project Accessible Work for All. We also work with hearing people to train people in sign language competencies, particularly educators and social workers, so that later on, when qualified, these people are sign language competent, so that deaf learners do not have to try and acquire knowledge without sign language. I presume that all of the audience will be able to have our presentations, so I've just put a list of the projects that we've been involved in. Not in any way to show off, by the way, but just so that you have access to all of the information, because at the end of the day, that's the point of Erasmus Plus, is that we create outputs and products that everybody else can use. And there are so few sign language outputs out there. I hope that anybody that's watching this that works with deaf people uses our outputs, and please, if you do, give me feedback, because this is something that always makes my day. Here are all of the links, so I'm hoping that Georgie will share them with you after the presentation. A very, very brief bit of background. We're talking about counselling here, but just about myself briefly, I've worked in development cooperation in the Balkans, in the Caucasus and in Eastern Europe since I was in my late 20s, so more than 20 years. And yet when I swapped to Equalizent 5 years ago, I have to be honest with you, my knowledge about deaf and the barriers that deaf people face every day was very low. And I think it'll probably be the same for most people who haven't been directly in contact with deaf people. So some facts and figures here. Worldwide, we have 466 million people who are deaf. There are 200 sign languages. There are more than that, but there are 200 say recognized. Only a quarter of those are formally recognized, and what frequently happens is they're formally recognized, like in Austria, but without budgetary backup. So I have the right to use sign language in Austria, but there are virtually no schools, there are virtually no teachers, there are virtually no administrators who are sign language competent, and so on and so forth. 70 million people use sign language across the globe, and this is the figure that really scares me. Only 5% have access to sign language education. What this means in the terms of Austria is we have 10,000 people using sign language who are deaf, and 456,000 who either you get late deafened people, so people, older people, or through illnesses or very hard of hearing. Just a very, very brief summary for you what this means in school. There are very few sign language teachers, so kids learn without sign language. And to put this into context for you, there are children who are born deaf to deaf parents, yes, but 90% of deaf people are born to hearing families. So already there is a language disconnect because the hearing parents don't sign. So you would expect the schools would pick up this deficit. They don't. So most children go into school, they have no sign language, they don't learn sign language in school, so they're left with either interpreters, very low levels of education, very low levels of vocabulary. And it goes through, unfortunately, also into vocational education and training. Until very recently in Austria, you couldn't be a kindergarten pedagogue because you were deaf. Because there was a stipulation that said you had to be able to play a guitar, you had to be able to sing and play music. This is one of the things that Equalizing works to do, is to open these fields of work. Again, I'm going to give you all the facts and figures in the presentation. I don't want to repeat them, but if you look at these figures, deaf kids go into school with a vocabulary of 250 words to 500, whether passive or active. If you look at the number for hearing children, the next slide is about school leavers. So basically, deaf school leavers leave with a very similar vocabulary to hearing school beginners. This is 2022, and this is frightening. Definition of illiteracy, and I don't like using the word illiteracy, but it still applies, unfortunately, is a child or a youth that has a vocabulary of less than 7,000 words. Our solution, and the reason I'm presenting all of these figures for you, is about bilingual education. So by bilingual, we mean signed with written language. And this goes through into our project, Accessible Work for All. So we promote at all times sign language as first language. And by first language, I mean the language of choice. Most of the time in English and in a lot of other languages, so also in German, we use the phrase Muttersprache or mother tongue. I'm bilingual. My mother tongue moves, depending whether I'm speaking English or German sometimes. First language means the language that the person has chosen to be their first language. Many deaf children acquire sign language much, much later in life. So I apologize for the interruption. At Accessible Work for All, which was a Key Action 2 project, our aim was to promote equality, non-discrimination and diversity through providing information on working rights in an accessible format. We heard from previous presenters about accessibility, what it means, but a lot of the time accessibility is about online accessibility or physical accessibility, about ramps and so on. And what tends to get forgotten is accessibility of information in a linguistic form. So, for example, language accessibility. Goals of our project were to empower deaf job seekers. We had 3 working packages, which I will show you in a minute. These were a needs analysis for the first. For the second working package, we produced animated videos. The animated videos, the animation is there to support the message. Then there is a sign language moderator, and beneath the video is an easy to read format text. The subjects include, for example, work and family, my rights in home office, my different kinds of contracts. There's all kinds of subjects around working rights, and there are actually 15 videos. Deaf job seekers are empowered by these videos just because they can access the information in sign language on their own. They don't need communication assistants or interpreters. Our second goal, of course, was to raise awareness of working rights, because working rights are in such complicated linguistic form. So, for example, a comparison would be like an insurance policy. Now, I don't know how you feel about insurance policies, but like I said, I'm bilingual in English and German. I get an insurance policy and I sometimes don't know what it means. Yeah, it's the same with working rights. The complicated language means that people don't have access, particularly deaf people. So the idea was to break this down, to put it in sign language, and then to provide an easy to read format text with the sign language video. And our third goal was a bit of an egotistical one, because there just aren't enough sign language tools, and we're an institute that provides support for people looking to find employment. So we need tools. All counselling centres working with the deaf need tools, and that's why we applied for this project. Why do we think the project's awesome? Well, because the actual contents of the videos are accessible, not the format, but the contents. So they're made in, depending for different levels of education, so that the information can be accessed by everybody. And also, by the way, I'm guessing that many of you watching are not signers. So you'll be thinking, oh, what do I do with these videos? The captions are also in English. So all of the videos have dual subtitles in the local language and in English. They're also flexible for use in different settings, so they can be used for self-study purposes, they can be used online, but they can also be used in classrooms and in teaching settings. So, and just to repeat what I've already said to you. So I've already spoken about our themes. Self-determination is an important theme. As a deaf person, you're frequently left in a position where you're dependent on communication assistants and interpreters. So having access to information in your first language, in sign language, is fundamental to self-determination and to being able to, I think it was Isabella that said before, being informed and being able to choose your choice of career. If you can access the information in your first language, then you are by nature more self-determined and more empowered. What you have on the slide is a little extract from one of the videos, which is the video on my rights as a person with a family. So, for example, maternity or paternity is described in the video, leave, or if you want to return to work with reduced working hours. So what are your rights? What can you demand from your employer? What do you have to negotiate with your employer? These are all fundamental points of your working rights. So our outputs were needs analysis. We have we asked across Europe, in Poland, Germany, Austria, and Italy, what was needed. And these were our results. They've all been beautifully graphically presented. And by the way, if there are any questions in detail later, my contact details are at the end of this presentation. And I'm very pleased to hear from anybody who wants to know more about the project. The intellectual output too, so the second working package was the animated videos. these abbreviations that you have on the PowerPoint, these are sign languages. I'm assuming everybody knows there's no such thing as a universal sign language. In fact, Austrian Sign Language and German Sign Language are very different. There are historical reasons for this, which I don't want to go into, but it's very important that for first language, sign language uses that the material is in local sign language. So we have UGS is Austrian Sign Language, LIS is Italian Sign Language, DGS is German Sign Language, and PJM is Polish Sign Language. Then for the third work package, we developed training materials which use the videos as the center point of each training unit. So it can be done in great detail if you're talking about different types of working contracts, or in self-study format online. It uses blended learning. There are very practical suggestions for teaching with a group, with a pair, in all different kinds of settings. It's very, very flexible. This is all online on the website. I apologize, I'm not showing you any videos. It doesn't work on Zoom showing a video, so I've decided to leave it, but the links are all there. I hope I haven't gone over my time. What I have here is all of my social media contacts, because we are always interested in new projects. We're always interested in feedback. And what I'm most interested in is if you find the opportunity to use any of our products, that you get in touch with me. It would really, really, really make me very, very happy project manager. So to finish off, danke, thank you very much. Fala, I think, in Macedonian, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Joanna. It was a very nice presentation. I really like the animation. Also, feel free to write down the links below in the chat, so everyone that is interested can access the websites and the platforms. It's actually a very good platform, and I think this is a good opportunity if some of our Macedonian colleagues that have some NGOs can research it, and also here you can share some contacts between you, so maybe a good project will come up next year.
Here's hoping.
Thank you. So our last speaker for today's webinar is Ms. Erika Papdi. She's from Hungary, and she will share the good practices. I think that she also prepared some presentation. So Ms. Papdi, the floor is yours.
Warm welcome from Budapest, Hungary. We really have nice weather. Unfortunately, the net is unstable, so I'd like to share my presentation. And you can see at least the slides. And if you cannot hear me, just raise your hand or whatever, and I try to make it better. So the very first slide is the picture of the school. It's a school with a history, very nice, very old, but these days we have to face the ever-changing needs since we teach basically teenagers, so aged from 14 up to even 26, because the school is divided into two parts. One part is vocational part of the school, and the other one is students with disabilities. And today I'd like to talk about students with disabilities, because we have different programs, different projects, and basically the three main areas in the school. The very first is, I just like to show you, it's the slide 4. I jumped a bit because the summary is here, so I think you'll get a better understanding if we look at slide 4. So there are the programs One is the orientation year. Secondly comes the springboard program. Sometimes I call it Jumpstart program. And finally, the workshop school. So these are the programs that students do not leave the school. So we do not have early school leavers. And the ones who can catch up and they can go and have jobs in the real life. So first is the orientation year. The school is a regional school. So we collect people from Budapest. And this orientation is for the students who are finished elementary school or primary school, but they have no idea about what to do next, to put it simply. So it's basically about the orientation of the jobs. And the school is very lucky because we're specialized in teaching cooks, chefs, waitresses. So that's very basic about the food. So we are related to the food industry, and it's sort of really useful for everyone, even though if they will not go to the jobs related to the program. So this orientation year is about choosing different career paths and choosing what to do in life. The second, the springboard program, it's more complicated because those students haven't finished elementary school, but they can catch up here and then they can have partial professional training. And the third one is really interesting because it's specialized in inside and outside workshops. And it's really practical. And I don't think we ever seen those programs because we are really free to decide about the time, to decide about the program, methods. It's really integrated for the students and individuals for their individual needs. So back to the orientation program. So that those students finished elementary schools and they are trying to figure out what to do in life, what the next step is, how to go into the job market. As we see in Europe, there are serious problems with students or with the early school leavers. So this program orients the students to different jobs. The method is absolutely tailored to the students. So they really do whatever the needs of the student, the needs of the family, the needs of the parents. So yeah. I'm trying to skip it because it's basically understandable. 1 year program and basically about the professions, what they can choose. Here you can see the lessons. The colleague on my right, Zita, she's the one who is still doing this year's project. And so if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, you can ask her because she knows the latest info on the program. So the orientation year is really successful because most of the students will go to the job market. I think that's the most important, that they find their jobs and the roles in their life. The second, as I mentioned after the orientation, is the springboard program or Jumpstart. Basically, those are the students who they haven't finished their elementary school education. basic elementary school program, plus they can start partial job profession. So it's a very successful combo because they can have basic education plus skills that they can use on the job market. I'm trying to go to the last one because it's so special, and every time there's a team behind the program, and they can decide what to do in reality. I think what is really nice, the last program, unfortunately it's in Hungarian, but back to it, you can see this orientation and the jumpstart, and it's called workshop school. Workshop school is designed for inside and outside programs. Inside programs is decided by the teachers. We have 80 teachers in the school, and we have almost 800 students and 50 classes. So it's a really hard job for the school to make it every year. This program started 3 years ago, so we have experience on how to do things. And this workshop is really successful because it's very practical. Teachers, educators, they have the patience that is amazing to me. And just one short story that in this school is still organizing graduation programs, and I met a student at the graduation program, and she is called Sylvia, and she went through all the programs I mentioned before. And I just asked that what the problem was, why did she do different studying? And she said she comes from a Roma family. They used to live in Canada and they moved back to Hungary. And she had like 3 years different educational programs, so she wanted to catch up. And I'm sure next year she'll be a really nice, successful lady because she will do the graduation exam. So she did all the jumping programs the school provided, and she'll be able to achieve the exam, which is nice. Thank you very much for your attention, and that was all. And if you have any questions, then you can see the email, and you can talk to the headmaster who can answer any questions you have. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you to Ms. Papti. I would just like to mention that in the chat section below, you can write down your emails and contacts, everyone that wants to communicate. And now with Ms. Papti as our last speaker, I would like to close the session for presentations and sharing good practices. So I'm now leaving up to you if you want to ask something, if you want to ask the speaker something. Also, if someone else wants to share some good practices, you can write in the chat so we can give you a space. I would like to mention that this combination of digitalization and inclusion is a very good progress throughout Europe. Also, I hope that our country, North Macedonia, and the Macedonian participants here got some very good practices and got some very good ideas about the career guidance and counseling with people with disabilities. So if we do not have any questions, I would like to thank you all. I must say that I'm very happy that as our first Euroguidance webinar from our country, we have we didn't fall below 66 participants. Now it's 60. So thank you all. Our email is euroguidance@na.org.mk. I'll write it down. If you have any questions or if we can help with something that you're organizing, or if you need sharing some good practices. Thank you once again. Have a good day. Feel free to contact us if you need anything. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.